I'm going to talk about what my stats were going into UCLA. Hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. I'm going to talk about 3 things today. Test scores, what my GPA was, and extracurricular activities. This video is not meant to be bragging at all. I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging in this video. This video is purely educational to see where you stand. And, there's a thing. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. But I think this might be helpful for those to see what goals they should be achieving or where they should be before applying to a school like UCLA. Okay, so number 1, test scores. In all honesty, my test score, from my memory, I'm trying to remember, I took the SAT and the ACT. So for the SAT, I did not do hot on. And the ACT, I also didn't do hot on. And let me explain why. I believe for my SAT, I think I got an 1800. And this was before it was converted. This is back when it was out of 2400. So it's just slightly above the national average. And then my ACT, same thing again, 26 out of 36. Don't know how the scoring is now, but at the time that was also national average. So my test scores weren't that impressive. Why is that? At the time, I couldn't afford the test prep that I was to invest in order to accurately and efficiently prepare for these exams. A lot of students would get that test prep, and most of the time, or a lot of the time, the test prep wasn't free, and it was and upwards of thousands of dollars. To put it simply, wealthier students had a leg up against me. They can take the test multiple times. These students typically attend better funded schools. They usually can afford more test prep, which in turn correlates with higher test scores in the end. And with those higher test scores, they have a higher chance overall to get into, I guess, what you would call an elite institution. A lot of my extra mental real estate went to other things. How was I going to afford my next SAT test or ACT test? Another thing that was on my mind, when would my next meal be? Or how am I going to afford to keep this roof on my head? Because let me tell you, to be honest, my family, we weren't financially stable at all. And this continued on up until the end of my college career. So it's always been a bumpy ride, and I had to worry about these other stressors while other students didn't have to worry about those stressors, which is why a lot of my test scores were low. And I believe a lot of schools have taken out the requirement for SAT and SAT scores. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I read that somewhere, but if that's the case, then don't have to worry about this section. So number 2, GPA. So I knew my test scores were going to be low, or I didn't know they were going to be low, but they were low. I had to do something, right? I had to do something to fix that. And my way of fixing that was to get a high GPA. At the end of the day, I graduated as valedictorian of my class, ranked 1. It's not to brag. I'm bragging a little bit, but this was, 5 years ago? So no one cares. I don't care. No one cares about this anymore.
Young man who has an overall 4.7 GPA, who will be attending UCLA in the fall. He is a scholar athlete. Please help me welcome Jason Abono.
Go for the hug. Perfect. I graduated with a 4.7021 GPA, which is pretty high. I took a lot of AP classes, a lot of honors classes, and during my senior year, I took, I think, 7 AP classes at once. It was, don't do that to yourself. You don't want to do that. I think this GPA really put me at the forefront. Obviously the test scores weren't there, but GPA is one of those major factors in college decisions. So luckily I had that to leverage to get myself into plenty of other schools. And then extracurricular activities. I knew I had to take on leadership roles. There was no other way to go about it. I had the low test scores, high GPA. I had to prove myself one way or another. So I took up leadership roles. And I have a list here of all the organizations that I was a part of. And in no way, shape, or form I was a part of these organizations for more than, for the entirety of my high school years. They're split up. So I'm just going to read off the list. So I was president of the National Honor Society. I was senior class historian for ASB, which is Associated Student Body, if you guys have that. Varsity tennis captain. Varsity girls tennis team manager. I ran cross country. I played badminton. I played piano and took the music certification test, whatever that's called, the music teacher certification test. I was like a level 5. I wasn't that good, but I was vice president of the Pan Asian Club. I was bulletin editor and historian of Key Club, vice president of YouTube Club. Woo woo! Shout out to YouTube. This was a really fun club to be a part of for sure. And I was secretary of the AP Club. So you don't have, in my personal opinion, you do not have to go that ham on extracurriculars. But I was pretty insecure. I guess insecure might be the word for it. But I just wanted to be sure that I would get into a school that I really wanted to get into. And I knew the GPA and test combination just wasn't there. And I was retaking the test, and, as I did put in the hours to study, and my score was not budging. I remember the second time I took the SAT, I think I lowered my score. I got a lower score by like 10 points. So that didn't work. And I did get tutored. I didn't pay for it, but friends would tutor me. I took practice tests online, free practice tests. I took, all those free online resources, and they helped, but I just wasn't a good test taker. And yeah, sometimes you just aren't. But that's pretty much it. That got me to this school, and I graduated last year, so was a last year thing. But I hope this video was helpful. If it wasn't, probably wasn't. I'm not even sure. Leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. It's kind of weird just to go back into my high school record and remember what I did, because this was years ago. This was almost 8, 7, 6, 5. I can't count. 5 years ago. 8 to 5 years ago. 5 to 8 years ago. Gosh, I'm so tired. I just got home from work, so I apologize if I'm confusing everyone. But yeah, those are my stats. Take it with a grain of salt. Everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own obstacles and challenges that they overcome. And everyone's story is different. Everyone's situation is different. My situation is a lot different, say, than someone else who might have gotten a 3.5 and had perfect test scores. I don't know. I was different. Take that as you will. See you guys in the next video.
Y'all right here when I'm on that,